this could be the start of something special for the Bengals. Burrow is one of the best. I think he's one of the smartest quarterbacks in the NFL already. They, more than anybody, wanted to come out here and be like, this is the dawn of a new era in the AFC.
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
Maybe the greatest catch I've ever seen.
500 plus yards, 525 yards for Joe Burrow. He put up straight, college numbers on an NFL team, the Baltimore Ravens. We know, Matt, that they've been struggling in their defensive secondary, but my God, 525 through the air and just doing whatever they want, man.
Man, this was, it's funny too. This was one of those performances where I was getting pretty frustrated with the Bengals offense heading into week 16, because we had seen a stretch of games where Joe Burrow was kind of taking a backseat to the running game, especially, and I'm not ever going to be one of these people that just comes out there and be like, is going to just slander the running game and all that. Like, running the ball is important. Running the ball out of certain formations is important. Or setting up play action is important. Even if, the numbers obviously say you can run play action effectively, even and not being a high volume running game, but the deception part of it with your formations and everything and alignments, it all matters, of course. I don't think the Bengals were being smart with their run game. Like, they were one of the teams running into heavy boxes the most, like, 7-man fronts, 8-man fronts, stuff like that. They were consistently running into heavy boxes with Joe Mixon, and it had led to kind of like a thin margin for error team, number one. And then number two, man, again, Joe Burrow in the passing game, we talked about this, I think, on the last show or something like that. We talked about how the thin margin for we talked a lot about it on the DFS stream, or not the DFS stream, but the Thursday stream.
The Thursday stream.
Making the daily fantasy lineup for the sickos there. Just how much it was hard to trust like the pass catchers because the volume had been so limited. I think I told you, I was like, I want to play Joe Burrow, but not stack him with any of these guys. And obviously Joe Burrow turned out great, but like all the receivers were awesome too, because they really opened this thing up. They came right out and they were attacking deep down the field. Joe Burrow on the season averages 8.7 yards per attempt, and he's not a guy that is a big armed quarterback. He's not a Josh Allen. He's not even like a Kyler Murray, these guys with just whips for arms. Joe Burrow, I would say he has like an average arm, something like that, but man, he's just he has such great placement. He has such great timing that he's able to really drop the thing, down the field in the bucket. And they just came out and just took it to a weak Ravens secondary. And yes, of course, we know the Ravens are so banged up in the secondary, but it was just a full on, it was a performance that really makes you stand up and take notice, I think, because this unit for Cincinnati, like, talk about spinning it to 2022. The Bengals are probably going to win the AFC North. I think they've got like a 70% chance to win the AFC North and like an 80% chance to make the playoffs right now, according to a couple of prediction models. But man, even if this isn't their year to like go make a Super Bowl run, they're going to host a playoff game most likely. And then we're talking about this could be the start of something special for the Bengals.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Just in regards to real life football, right now they're getting a little bit extra from their defense as well. I think their defense is actually, we're this late into the season and their defense is still underrated. And maybe it's because of the splash plays we're seeing from Jamar Chase. Maybe it's because of the hype we had with Joe Burrow and the focus on the offense. Joe Mixon, Zach Taylor's an offensive-minded guy, right? Like, he has an offensive background. But the defense has added a lot of stability and really has not put this offense in bad situations. I think that's the thing that I kind of take away with better defenses, right? Is that they're putting their offenses in good spots. They're not having to drive from their own 20, from their own 5, their own 10 every single time. No, it's like driving from the 40, the 50. Those are recipes for touchdown success. You talk about Joe Burrow and the over-reliance on the run game, which was really surprising considering their roster construction, Matt. And you're right. In the previous 5 games before this game against Baltimore, Joe Burrow had been under 200 yards passing in 3 of those 5 games, which is, again, very surprising, I think, given the roster construction. So spinning it forward to 2022, let's just dive into it, man. Like, where are you looking at Joe Burrow? Where are you looking at Jamar Chase, Tee Higgins? And right now, I know Tee Higgins, it feels like he will go after Jamar, but golly, he has just been everything Jamar has been. and even more, quite honestly, in certain games, and certainly in this past game against Baltimore.
Rory brings up a great point about just like Chase is going to always take shine off of T. Higgins in Dynasty, and I think, that's obviously no slight to Jamar Chase on that. Like, he might deserve all that. It's like, we can never forget and obviously he was great in this game too, but we can never forget the start he had of the season. That's going to be crucial. Just like, I think he legit does have top 5 Dynasty wide receiver potential, but dude, T. Higgins was awesome against the Ravens. I wanted to actually bring up his 2020 RP chart here because, like, the one thing that was the most surprising about T. Higgins as a rookie and why I was like pretty high on these guys, like I pretty consistently had like Chase and Higgins in the same tier coming into this year. And for a while that looked like a bad take because, like, Chase was so much more productive, but Higgins is such a good vertical threat too. He had a catch of 50 plus yards last week because he can be that vertical ball winner too. And he gets the separation on deep routes. I thought he might be a classic number 2 possession receiver, a guy who wins in contested space in the short and intermediate areas, but man, he gets separation on those vertical patterns. And that is something that's really good to see from him. Obviously I know a lot of folks have talked about just how quickly he got out of his break on that whip route. I think that just shows you he's an athletic guy. Like, he's not just a possession receiver as I thought he might be coming in the NFL. He's shown legit vertical skills, and he's so good in contested situations. There was a couple games to start this year where Higgins was, hit or miss in those contested situations.
Right.
He's a little banged up at times to start this year, but that is the core of his game, is that he is a ball winner in tight areas, and he is a vertical threat as well. I mean, like, Higgins and Chase might just be a 1A, 1B. I never like to just bury a young coach like too early, but sometimes it was like, all right, Zach Taylor, like, we just need you to get out of the way, bro. I mean, Burrow is one of the best. I think he's one of the smartest quarterbacks in the NFL already because, like, again, we're not talking about a guy that has a dynamic physical skill set like Kyler Murray or Josh Allen, like I mentioned. We're talking about a guy that wins between his ears, and even more so this year than last year because he got banged up, had that injury, and he hasn't been quite like the rushing threat in fantasy, especially that he has been, but he's still QB8 this year. Like, I think he's the type of quarterback that I'm glad he finally had this freaking game, James, because I was like saying for the last month or so, we needed to be talking about what Joe Burrow is doing more.
I also appreciate that Zach Taylor had absolutely zero chill about Baltimore. These guys, they had nothing. They had a huge lead. They're still throwing the ball. And I think every fantasy manager's like, let's print that, dude. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's keep getting those yards for Jamar Chase. Let's keep getting them yards for T. Higgins, man. Like, I know fantasy managers were definitely feeling that. It's like, hey, listen, it's a divisional rival. And they absolutely were like, it's cool, man. We're absolutely going to just put these guys and stomp them out,
I think they more than anybody wanted to come out here and be like, this is the dawn of a new era in the AFC.
We have never seen a team like this succeed deep into the playoffs. So I will hold my judgment on their postseason run. I don't think the great spot about where they're at right now from a real life perspective is like they're playing with house money. It literally doesn't matter. No one's expecting them to make a postseason run, and if they do, great. And if they don't, hey man, they're a young team that is still finding themselves too. But yeah, I think from a defensive standpoint, I think they've got some pieces up front to really make some noise. I think they need a little bit of work in their secondary. But dude, listen, man, crazier things have happened in the NFL. I know no team like this young has ever won in the NFL before, but there's got to be a first for everything. But yeah, man, they're going to be a tough out. They're certainly going to be a tough out and a really interesting team to watch in the postseason.